Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 189 based on novel. So let's start. Before Qin Mu could even reply, Jiu Linwan brought a bunch of ministers to praise the idea. Your Majesty is of great talent, and this small official prostrates himself in admiration. Emperor Yangfeng laughed loudly, now certain about the name of the technique. He then asked, Minister Qin, what are those runes that you marked inside Hall of Supreme Learning for? Your Majesty, the runes are a guide for the primordial spirits. Their speed is too fast, able to travel 10,000 miles in an instant. With these runes, we are able to guide the primordial spirit to an exact location. Emperor Yangfeng frowned. Wouldn't these kinds of runes that can attract primordial spirits be used by the enemy? If they use them and guide the primordial spirits of my Eternal Peace's generals to catch them in one fell swoop, wouldn't my Eternal Peace be completely wiped out? The civil and military officials felt fear in their hearts and nodded together. Xu Xinghua came over and said, Your Majesty, you might not know this, but the runes we designed can be interchangeable. There are different ways to line up the runes for them to remain compatible with secrets of 3 primordial spirit assembly. There are a billion more combinations than there are people, so this kind of complicated rune arrangement is impossible to solve. Emperor Yangfeng sighed ruefully. A Daoist ran over and took a glance at Qin Mu, then braved himself to say, Your Majesty, there's a fox with a huge pig and a large chest down near the lake. They've caught 2 red dragon carp kings, and are currently roasting them. How maddening. This style is familiar to my ears. Emperor Yangfeng looked at Qin Mu and said with a smile, Minister Qin, yours. Qin Mu's face turned slightly red, and he hurriedly said, Your Majesty, let me hurry over and punish them severely. Truly fooling around. After he said that, he got up and left. When he came to the lake, Hu Linga was scolding the chest. You see, the waves you churned were too big and alarmed the Daoist guarding the lake. You'll eat the fish bones later. Fatty dragon, lower the fire, don't burn it. Qin Mu walked over and said with a smile, Leave some for me. Hu Linga cheered at him and immediately lowered her voice. Young master, I know you like to eat this kind of fish, so I got Fatty Dragon to catch 2 more. However, the chest was a disappointment. When it was about to hide the fish in its stomach, it was discovered by the Daoist who guards the lake. Qin Mu rubbed his hands and said with a smile, I had long wanted to eat a few more, but I didn't have the face to steal. When the fish was cooked, Hu Linga controlled her wind blades to slice the meat. She gave the dragon Chalene 1 portion, Qin Mu another, and 1 more for herself. The chest lay on the side and waited for them to finish eating so it could collect the fish bones. Suddenly, laughter rang out. How fragrant! This is much more fragrant than the imperial cooking. Cult Master Qin is truly a professional in the eating path. Leave some for me. Qin Mu turned back to look and saw a devil ape and a young monk. That monk was none other than Monk Mingxin, whose appetite had been whetted when he smelled the fragrance. Hu Linga gave him a chunk of fish, and Qin Mu asked in bewilderment, when he saw Mingxin wolfing it down, Monk also eats fish. Mingxin didn't raise his head. After leaving Cult Master then, in the natural and man-made disaster, I have even gnawed on tree bark, much less fish. I even grabbed worms to eat. When I was starving, I even sliced my own flesh to feed myself. He lifted up his robes and showed a scar on his chest. He smiled then. From then on, I comprehended my own scripture. All living things don't mean human and demons only, but also includes plants and worms. However, all living things are just a reincarnation. I eat them and after I die, they will eat me, it's merely that. When a person is struggling in the sea of bitterness, what they seek isn't Buddha, but the other shore in one's heart, and I have already seen the other shore. Qin Mu nodded to his words and said with a smile, "Excellent, your frame of mind is very brilliant now." Hu Linga sliced another chunk of fish for the devil ape, who shook its head. "Vegetarian, strong. He doesn't want it, but I'll take it." A hand stretched out from the side and took the fish. Tao Master Lin Xian sat down beside the devil ape and said with a smile, "This fish is even more fragrant than the imperial cooking." Qin Mu smiled. "You are also a Daoist monk, yet you can eat non-vegetarian food too." Tao Master Lin Xian ate the fish in big mouthfuls while saying in a muffled voice, "Even the sky is fake, so how is a monk real?" "The one that herds cows. You are eating my father's fish again." A gust of fragrance assaulted their nostrils as Ling Yuxiu squeezed past Hu Linga, who was beside Qin Mu, and sat down. She patted her hands and tore a chunk of fish before biting into it without a care for scalding her mouth. She sucked in a few quick breaths and praised, "Delicious, truly delicious." "Princess Xiao, wait for me." Cai Yinxiang also ran over and sat down beside the bonfire. She wanted to push Hu Linga to the side too, but the fox transformed into a 6 to 7 years old girl with a puff and crossed her arms in front of her chest. She sat angrily between the two girls and didn't get up no matter what. Cai Yinxiang was too embarrassed to push her away, and could only let her sit there. Everyone was talking and laughing while sharing the red dragon carp king. Not long later, Wang Muren, Mu Qingdai, Long Yu, and Xu Xinghua also found their way over. Wang Muren said with a smile, "You guys won't be able to finish 2 carp kings of this size, so let us help you." "No need to thank me." Qin Mu looked around and said with a smile, "It's rare for the heads of Heaven Alliance to meet up, so let's not go home until we are drunk." "What Heaven Alliance?" Ling Yuxiu was puzzled and hurriedly asked, "Is it an alliance to overthrow my father?" "If it is, count me in." Xu Xinghua, Lin Xian, and Wang Muren hesitated for a moment, not knowing if they should explain it. Qin Mu then said, "There are no outsiders here, so let's just speak the truth. However, once we say it, you will all become members of my Heaven Alliance. Is there anyone who doesn't want to listen?" The dragon Chilean immediately got up and bit the chest, dragging it away before it could pick up the fish bones. "The less we know, the longer we will live." Fatty Dragon taught the chest. Suddenly the bonfire flickered, and opposite Qin Mu a youth stretched out his hand to tear a chunk of fish. He then said leisurely, "I would like to know about this Heaven Alliance as well. May great divine physician Qin enlighten me." Qin Mu's blood ran cold, and he hurriedly looked toward the mountaintop of Imperial College. "The whole Imperial Court can be a match for me. Your emperor isn't weak, and I reckon he has already cultivated his divine bridge," the youth said indifferently. "However, before they could hurry over, you guys would all be corpses. Great divine physician Qin, don't be reckless. Come, tell me about Heaven Alliance." "This is Xing'an, the saint before Imperial Preceptor." Qin Mu roughly introduced Xing'an to everyone. They were nervous, especially those of the girls. Cai Yinxiang, Hu Linga, and Ling Yuxiu had seen Xing'an before and knew how powerful and terrifying he was. They had seen him in the battle at Granny Sai's Manor, the place where Heavenly Saint Academy now stood. Half of the experts in the world were injured by Xing'an, including Emperor Yang Feng. He had beaten all those experts into acceptance, and even with so many of them around, no one could handle Xing'an. In the end, they still had to rely on Qin Mu's dose of supplement to force Xing'an to have no choice but to retreat. And now, this murderer was sitting right beside them, so it was impossible for them to not be nervous. Even though Imperial College had gathered all the strongest existences in eternal peace, and there were even a couple who had patched their divine bridges among the first-ranking high officials, Xing'an was still the strongest existence in the world. If he wanted to kill them, no one could stop him, not even the gods in Imperial College. Qin Mu smiled. As a saint that appears once every 500 years, Qin is a senior, and it's a good thing that he wants to know more about our Heaven Alliance. Everyone, there's no need to be nervous. Even though he said so, Qin Mu's face was deathly white. It was obvious that he was also extremely nervous. Qin's target was obviously him. As the strongest practitioner of the previous generation, Qin had his own way of doing things, and he would never lay hands on the younger generation. Even if he wanted to, he would wait for them to grow up and reach the God realm in a certain aspect before making his move to take that body part. But Qin Mu was an exception, for he had offended him too many a time. First, it was the battle at Heavenly Saint Academy, where he used a supplement to make him experience fleeing in defeat, while being chased by Butcher. Qin had been forced to escape to Great Ruins, and spend a very long time to heal his injuries. Second, quite a number of pieces from his collection had been snatched away by Qin Mu, and it was the most annoying part. Afterward, it was the battle at Little Thunderclap Monastery, where Qin Mu had actually stolen his whole chest and seized all his property. If that wasn't enough, Qin Mu had even brought him to Fengju and made him lose face under the influence of the living realm of the dead. He almost couldn't return alive. All of that had naturally counted on Qin Mu's head. It was already beyond expectations that he didn't kill Qin Mu without saying a word. One had to really admire his attainments in the frame of mind for being able to maintain his elegance even after meeting Qin Mu. The trip to Fengju had crumbled his Dao heart, and his frame of mind was still very weak, but even so, it still surpassed those of many of the people present. Qin Mu, Wang Muren, Xu Xinghua, and Dao Master Lin Xian explained everything together, describing how they had calculated the meteorological phenomenon and how thick the sky was. The surroundings of the bonfire were silent, and even Qin was speechless as he looked at it. The bonfire roasted the red dragon carp king, until fish oil started to emanate and drip into the flames. The oil sizzled and a fragrance rose into the air, whetting their appetite. Minister Qin, are you here to severely punish them? Why have you started to eat here? You have the crime of lying to your ruler, off with you. Emperor Yangfeng walked over with a wine jar, his voice holding a hint of intoxication. But when he saw Qin opposite Qin Mu, he immediately sobered up and turned to leave. Qin looked at him indifferently. Emperor, it's best for you to sit down and talk, or else the lives of your Grand Chancellor and Princess will just go poof. Emperor Yangfeng, carrying the wine jar, braced himself to turn back. He then sat down beside the bonfire and forced out a smile. Brother Qin, you had left in a hurry the previous time, and I had lain on the bed for almost 20 days. Qin's expression was calm. I lay for 4 months. Emperor Yangfeng handed the wine jar over to him, his gaze flickering. However, in these few days of not meeting, I have already crossed the divine bride and become a god. Brother Qin still has not yet reached this step, right? Qin took the wine jar and said, I have been laying low in floor of heavenly records and flipping through all kinds of classics, studying great divine physician Qin's space algebra model over and over again. Cultivating to God is no trouble for me, but I still require a year. He raised his head to drink the wine while Emperor Yangfeng stared at his throat. He wanted to attack, but he never found the chance. Qin Mu and the rest were astonished. Qin had been hiding in floor of heavenly records for the last couple days, but no one had noticed. This made cold sweat roll down their foreheads. Qin put down the wine jar and said, however, Your Majesty, cultivating to God realm, or not, isn't a problem to me. Even if you cultivated to God realm, you still aren't my opponent and just a fake god. Your cultivation is at most slightly denser than before, but you didn't make any advancement in your paths, skills, and divine arts. By calling your civil and military officials, Duke Wei and Grand General of Heavenly Strategies, over who've become gods, you would have a chance against me. However, Imperial College and your capital city would be finished. Veins popped out on Emperor Yanfeng's forehead before going away. He smiled and said, "What were you guys talking about?" Heaven Alliance, Xing'an said. They discovered that the sky is 100,000 miles high and 1,000 yards thick, so they formed Heaven Alliance. They planned to unravel the mystery and pierce apart this fake sky. Emperor Yangfeng scolded them with a smile. "Fooling around, you are all children that like to create trouble. I also know about this incident, as Hua Shanling had reported this to me. When I heard Heaven Alliance, I almost jumped in shock, thinking you guys were planning to overthrow me." When he finished saying that, he laughed loudly. His laughter didn't manage to travel far. Instead, it reverberated in the surroundings, and caused the qi and blood of everyone around the bonfire to rise. Emperor Yangfeng was astonished and hurriedly stopped. He had planned to use his laughter to lure Grand General of Heavenly Strategies and the rest up, but he hadn't expected that even after cultivating to God Realm, Xing'an's magic power would still surpass his by so much and be able to form a strange force field. His laughter was trapped in a small space, making it difficult for him to transmit any sound. His cultivation was incomparably dense, so his laughter alone had shaken Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu until they puked blood. He thus had no choice but to stop. Xing'an took a glance at Ling Yuxiu and said, "Emperor, don't be cocky so soon, for it's dark under some lamps. Your princess is a hero and is making friends, being the leader among the younger generation in various sects and clans. She will become a person who will be preeminent in the region. Heavenly Devil Cult Master, Tao Master, High Heavens, Little Jade Capital, Buddhism, all these future leaders are friends with her, and once her power is set, you will have no choice but to give up your position to her. You are only looking at the world, but you can't see her who's by your side." Emperor Yangfeng was unconcerned. "Senior brother, forget about sowing discord between us father and daughter. Could senior brother Xing'an be interested in Heaven Alliance?" Xing'an shook his head and said, "I'm only interested in the sky being 1,000 yards thick and not Heaven Alliance." "In that case, is senior brother Xing'an here to kill me?" Qin Mu asked. Xing'an shook his head again. "Originally, I had indeed wanted to kill great divine physician Qin, as I had suffered time and time again under your hand. My chest was stolen, my property seized, and I indeed hated you to the core. However, as I read the books in Floor of Heavenly Records, saw your Divine Bridges space algebra model, heard your lectures in Imperial College, as you imparted your sword skills and even founded secrets of 3 primordial spirit assembly in just a few days, I suddenly had no more intention to kill you. Instead, I gained some respect for you." His gaze was snow bright, and his expression was calm. He stared straight at Qin Mu as he praised him. "Everyone here is heroes, and the divine arts, paths, and skills founded in these few days surpass the advancement in divine arts, paths, and skills in the past few hundred years. I treasure all of your talents, so I'm leaving you guys alive. The world in the future will definitely be very interesting. I anticipate all of you to grow up well, and I'll hunt you then. This would be the most meaningful thing." The expressions of Xu Xinghua, Wang Muren, and the rest flickered. Wang Muren then said indifferently, "Senior Xing'an views himself highly and treats us as his possessions, but under the same realm, you would only be inferior to us. Does Senior have the guts to fight us on the same realm?" Xing'an's gaze was strange, but he shook his head. "There's no need for that. You guys are not my match on the same realm. Among those of you here, maybe great divine physician Qin and Xu Xinghua of High Heavens alone could be. Other than the two of them, the only other person who could match me on the same realm in eternal peace is none other than Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor." Wang Muren's complexion turned snow white. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was the opponent he wanted to defeat and take revenge on for the death of his master. When he heard Xing'an saying that only 3 people could be a match for him, and Wang Muren was not among them, despair couldn't help growing in his heart. Qin Mu, on the other hand, was at ease. Even though Xing'an was weird and his character was unreasonable, he always kept his word, which was worthy of respect. When he said he wouldn't make a move, then as long as one didn't provoke him, he wouldn't make a move. His life was safe. Is senior brother Xing'an thinking of going to the sky to have a look? Qin Mu asked. My grandpa Butcher had once gone up, but he went there in a hurry, so he only took a glance at the numerous formations and gods. Senior brother, your body parts can never be taken back and have been lost in Fengdu. There is also nothing in the chest anymore. However, there are numerous gods in the sky, so you can go there to collect some limbs. Xing'an was unmoved. I'll have to go to the sky sooner or later, but I have not come for the heaven but a person. Heavenly Devil Cult, Tao Sect, Buddhism, Little Jade Capital, High Heavens, and even Eternal Peace Court. All of you have extremely great power, so you can help me find that person. He didn't let anyone have the chance to refute and continued. The person I want to find was born on the 8th of the 12th lunar month 17 years ago. It was first year of the 60-year cycle, 12th solar month, midnight. With everyone's abilities, especially those of the Emperor, it shouldn't be hard to investigate and pick out some people from this time, right? Once everyone agrees to do this for me, nobody will need to die. He smiled and tore himself some more fish, soaking it in the wine jar before sending it to his mouth. His expression was calm when he said, otherwise, it will be hard to say how many will survive in this capital city. I won't kill everyone here, but the lives of everyone else in Imperial College and the capital will have to depend on everyone's sincerity. Cold sweat rolled down Emperor Yanfeng's forehead, and he said, all right. I'll help you find everyone in this empire born at this time. After it's done, I wish for senior brother Xing'an to keep to himself for a period of time. Xing'an looked around and smiled slightly. Other than the Emperor, are the others not going to do their best? Qin Mu let out a shaky breath and said solemnly, Heavenly Saint Cult will also help senior brother Xing'an to find that person. Dao Master Lin Xian nodded and said, my Dao sect will be in charge of the territories under Dao sect. The devil ape also didn't keep quiet. Excellent. Xu Xinghua hesitated for a moment before saying, since West Earth has already been annexed into eternal peace, I can go back to high heavens and take a look. But if I will succeed or not, I can't really say. Xing'an clapped his hands and said with a smile, in that case, things will be much easier. Great Cult Master Qin, if you are free, why don't you stay by my side and nurse my body? Cold sweat ran down Qin Mu's forehead, and he immediately said, I still have things to do. I need to do a big business. Xing'an didn't mind that and kept on smiling. In that case, I can stay beside you too. Your Majesty, you can fall back now. Emperor Yangfeng rose in anger as his gaze flickered. Return my wine to me. Xing'an sat still with his hand clasping on the mouth of the wine jar. Emperor Yangfeng slowly stretched his palm out, but it was extremely difficult. Just a short distance took him the time of half an incense. Beside the bonfire, Qin Mu, Xu Xinghua, and the rest were silent as they stared at their palms. Xing'an's palm was extremely stable, and his arm clasping the wine jar didn't move at all. However, the arm that Emperor Yangfeng stretched out was gently shaking, his 5 fingers trembling non-stop. The impact of each vibration sent to Qin Mu and the rest was hard to describe. Every time his 5 fingers shook, it was equivalent to executing a divine art. The high concentration of his vital qi could be faintly seen transforming into incomparably fine, flood dragons that were between the vein lines of his arm and palm. Under his skin, there seemed to be a true dragon coiling and concentrating power. However, its power wasn't always in a tyrannical state, but was tightening and slackening. What Emperor Yangfeng cultivated was 9 dragons monarch technique that he had once imparted to Qin Mu. The youth had later comprehended another type of 9 dragons monarch technique, which he imparted to Ling Yuxiu that passed it to her father as well. Emperor Yangfeng was also a peerless talent. His 9 dragons monarch technique wasn't any remarkable technique at first, but he had improved it continuously and developed its power to the extreme, making it extraordinary in the end. So much so that the technique could be a match for the 3 big sacred grounds. After receiving the technique from the true dragon's nest, he had erased all of his hidden flaws, and his divine treasures had become even stronger than before. The durability of his divine treasures had also received Xing'an's recognition, as he felt that they had already reached the God realm. Now that he had crossed the divine bridge and stepped into the realm of God, his cultivation was also denser than before. When Qin Mu and Ling Yuxiu saw the power of the true dragon, under his skin tightening and slackening in a regular pattern, their minds trembled violently, and they had many thoughts and realizations. The 9 dragons monarch technique that Qin Mu had imparted to Ling Yuxiu wasn't the complete true dragon's technique since he hadn't managed to read all of the dragon race's writings. After the help of the brother and sister of by family, he learned the meaning of even more writings and took the technique to another level. However, after returning to eternal peace, he hadn't yet had the time to impart the more complete technique to Ling Yuxiu. For Emperor Yangfeng to cultivate to this step with just an incomplete technique, 9 dragons monarch technique, was truly inconceivable. He had cultivated as though he had the entire path. Yet even if Emperor Yanfeng's true dragon divine art entered the path, it was still difficult for him to move in front of Xing'an. Every inch was a challenge for him. Even though the transformations of all kinds of divine arts were hidden well by him, they were still inferior to Xing'an's palm that was steady as a mountain. Finally, Emperor Yangfeng grabbed the mouth of the jar, but Xing'an suddenly flicked a finger toward his palm. Emperor Yangfeng flicked a finger up as well, and their fingers collided. A slight breeze could be heard moving in the wine jar as though the motion raised by their fingers. At the mouth of the jar, the 2 fingers were quick as shadows, exchanging countless blows at a rapid speed. Catcher. Emperor Yanfeng's expression changed as his middle finger was broken. He endured the pain and released his palm with a smile on his face. He slowly fell back and said, "Since senior brother loves the wine so much, I shall gift it to him." Xing'an placed the wine jar down nonchalantly and said, "My liquor tolerance is low and I'm already done." When the wine jar was placed down by him, Hu Ling's wine addiction was aroused, and she walked over to get a whiff of it. She said with a smile, "Since you guys don't want to drink, let me have a taste." Suddenly, she heard soft wind moving within the wine jar and looked into it. The wine was swirling inside as something seemed to be moving around in it and fighting. She moved her small head closer to the mouth of the jar to examine it in detail, when someone suddenly caught her by her collar, lifting her up. Qin Mu pulled her back and placed her beside the bonfire. He shook his head and said, "Don't look, it's dangerous. If you want wine, I can get Yuxiu to bring a few jars for you." Young master, inside the jar, is very terrifying. Qin Mu sneaked a glance at the surroundings and said quietly, "There are too many people here. I'll poke it later and show you. It'll definitely be magnificent." Hu Ling couldn't contain her excitement, and looked continuously at the wine jar. The wind within it became louder and louder, which only spiked her curiosity. She kept on raising her head, unable to wait. The fragrance from the wine jar also seemed to be getting thicker and thicker. Emperor Yangfeng returned to the banquet, and Grand General of Heavenly Strategies came forward to ask, "Your Majesty, is it time to make a move?" Emperor Yanfeng's brows raised slightly. "You sensed it?" Grand General of Heavenly Strategies nodded. "A very powerful person. Did your Majesty clash with him? Let me call Duke Wei over." By the time he said that, Duke Wei had already appeared behind him and began speaking in a low voice. When your majesty was making a move, old minister felt an abnormal motion from underground. Your divine arts had shaken the ley lines. That person had to be very strong, your majesty. Emperor Yangfeng shook his head. Don't bother about it. The person was Xing'an, and he's temporarily not a threat. However, he hesitated for a moment. It's going to be hard on Minister Qin, who is a truly loyal subject. To delay Xing'an, he was willing to keep that man by his side. Never did I expect for a heavenly devil cult master to be so heroic and courageous. He sighed repeatedly. Cult master said there's a big business. Xia Yunxiang asked while blinking at Qin Mu, can we get rich? Hu Linga was paying attention to the jar of wine from which she smelled a fragrance which made her crave it. However, when she heard the two words get rich, her head didn't move, but her whole body did. She then slowly twisted her small head around. Big business. Get rich. Young master, what business is it? My trip to Fengdu with senior brother Xing'an has given me a treasure called Between Life and Death. It can link Fengdu and the world of the living. Qin Mu took a glance at Xing'an. This expressions of this man, who had always been calm, changed drastically at that moment. It was obvious that he had recalled his humiliation in Fengdu. Qin Mu gave a slight smile and said, the business I want to do is in the world of the living. There are numerous primordial spirits of gods and devils in Fengdu who may be dead, but who are still living well in Fengdu. Some of these gods and devils still haven't had their wishes fulfilled, but are stuck in Fengdu and unable to leave. Because of that, most of them would be willing to pay a big price for the people in the world of the living to do stuff for them. There are many things I have to do, so I don't have much time, which is why I want to use this treasure to open a path for divine arts practitioners of eternal peace to accept missions from the dead. This is a training and also cultivation. They could even get rich from it. He smiled and said leisurely, the gods and devils of Fengdu can even impart techniques and divine arts to divine arts practitioners who had completed their wishes, or pay them in Fengdu gold coins to enter Fengdu. What concerns me? I plan to take a travel fee from the divine arts practitioners that enter Between Life and Death to cover my expenses. Techniques and divine arts of gods and devils. The faces of everyone beside the bonfire changed in unison and their hearts all shook. They didn't know what Fengdu gold coins were, but the techniques and divine arts of gods and devils were definitely something that moved their hearts. One had to know that great educational heavenly devil scriptures was a technique that could turn one into God, or a devil, and this kind of technique was the Bible of heavenly devil cult. The Tao Sword of Tao sect and Rulai's Mahayana Sutra were also techniques that could turn one into a god, or a Buddha, which was why they could become the big sacred grounds. Even if the techniques and divine arts of the gods and devils in Fengdu were inferior to those of the three big sacred grounds, they were still no small matter. Ever since Cult Master Qin established Divine Bridge's space algebra model and spread secrets of Magpie Bridge, secrets of Mysterious Guide, and secrets of Divine Crossing, the Divine Bridge is no longer the biggest obstruction to becoming a god, Long Yu said. Not having techniques of the god realm is the true obstruction. Truth be told, these few days, there were quite a number of old seniors that had come to Little Jade Capital to seek techniques, but what we have in my Little Jade Capital is at most of Divine Bridge realm. There are no techniques above them. Tao Master Lin Xian nodded and said, our Tao sect also doesn't have the god technique of Pre-Celestial Supreme Mystery Technique. These words from Cult Master Qin have moved my heart. The biggest problem for the strong practitioners in Eternal Peace Empire was that once the impassable path was paved, they didn't have any techniques they could cultivate, and they didn't know how to continue. If Qin Mu could really use Between Life and Death to link both worlds together, and allow them to receive techniques of the realms beyond, it would be an immeasurable merit. It would be worth it no matter how much money he asked. Even Xing'an was slightly moved. However, thinking about how Fengju suppressed him, he could only give up on that thought. These younger generations, if they can really receive the techniques after God realm, it'll be hard to tell if I'll be the one taking their body parts, or if they'll be the ones dispersing my souls when the time comes. His gaze flickered, and at that moment, his murderousness had indeed awakened for a second. However, he was still a great master, so he suppressed it in no time. Cai Yunxiang and Hu Ling's breathing became heavy, and their eyes turned bright. The same thought appeared in both of their minds: we're getting rich. Our wealth will rival the empire's. Once between life and death is set up, even the emperor won't be able to resist taking a trip to Fengju. Hu Ling raised her two furry ears and flicked them back and forth in excitement. Young master, how much should we charge the emperor? Cai Yunxiang also was filled with excitement. The old immortals of Little Jade Capital, the monks of Great Thunderclap Monastery, the old Taoists of Tao sects are all plump lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Monk Mingxin, Daoist Lin Xian, Wang Muren, and Ling Yushu's faces turned green. Before they could even say anything, Cai Yunxiang and Hu Ling looked each other in the eyes and remembered something at the same time. They asked in unison, "Young master, if we are collecting money from the world of the living, what about the world of the dead? We can also collect money there." Blinded by greed. You two are not generous at all. Leave some income for other people, Qin Mu said while shaking his head. I had handed the collection of money there to the past human emperors of Hall of Human Emperors. The income is theirs, so you can forget about it. Cai Yunxiang and Hu Ling were slightly disappointed. Hu Ling's tails that had stood straight moments ago drooped down. However, when she thought of how she was going to get rich, her tails went up once more. The sky started growing white, and the banquet was dispersed. Qin Mu waited for everyone on the mountain to go back, before pulling Hu Ling to run a distance away from the wine jar. He then tossed a small stone inside it. The stone fell into the wine jar, but for a moment there was no reaction. Hu Ling grew suspicious. Young master, could you have been wrong? Qin Mu shook his head and turned to look at Xing'an who was beside him. Senior brother Xing'an, this jar is being suppressed by Mem, Xing'an said indifferently. If you want to release the power inside it, I can do as you wish. How many such jade mountains are there in your imperial college? Don't release it. But by the time Qin Mu began saying that, Xing'an had already released his magic power, and was looking at him with a strange smile. Great divine physician, I also hold grudges. Qin Mu felt his hair stand up on ends, and pulled on to Hu Ling to run away. We can't stay in the capital anymore. The emperor is definitely going to behead me. Let's go now. This video will end here.